have soul, say, I see the world in light. I see the world in wonder. I see the world in life, bursting in living color. I see the world your way, and I'm walking in the light. Have you ever seen the wonder in the air of second life? Have you come out of the waters, the old one left behind? If you have soul, say, I see the world in light. I see the world in wonder. I see the world in life, bursting in living color. I see the world your way, and I'm walking in the light. I see the world in grace. I see the world in gospel. I see the world your way, and I'm walking in the light. I'm walking in the wonder. The wonder in the world. To the wilderness to wonder. Oh, I say, I see the world in love. I see the world in freedom. I see the Jesus way. The wonder in the world. I see the world your way, and I'm not afraid to follow. I see the world your way, and I'm not ashamed to say so. I see the Jesus way, and I'm walking in the light. I see the world in light. I see the world in wonder. I see the world in life, bursting in living color. I see the world your way, and I'm walking in the light. Oh, I say, I see the world in grace. I see the world in gospel. I see the world your way, and I'm walking in the light. I'm walking in the wonder. The wonder in the world. To the wilderness to wonder. Oh, I say, I see the world in love. I see the world in freedom. I see the Jesus way. Wonder in the world. To the wilderness to wonder. Wonder in the world. To the wilderness to wonder.
Make me a vessel of your peace. Where there is war, let fighting cease. All that divides us, come reconcile us. Make me a vessel of your peace. Make me a vessel of your love. Where there is hatred, break it up. All creeds and colors bind us together. Make me a vessel of your love. Pour me out, pour me out. raise the dead, come wake them up. A new horizon, I feel it rising. Make me a vessel of your own. Pour me out, pour me out, pour me out. Wherever I am, wherever I go, pour me out, pour me out, pour me out. Wherever I am, wherever I go. Like a rushing river, let mercy flow through my heart to my world. Like a rushing river, let mercy flow through my heart to my world. Like a rushing river, let mercy flow through my heart to my world. Like a rushing river, let mercy flow through my heart to my world. Like a rushing river, let mercy flow through my heart to my world. Like a rushing river, let mercy flow through my heart to my world. Like a rushing river, let mercy flow through my heart to my world. Like a rushing river, let mercy flow through my heart to my world. Pour me out, pour me out, pour me out. Wherever I am, wherever I go, pour me out, pour me out, pour me out. Wherever I am, wherever I go, Lord, pour me out, pour me out, pour me out. Wherever I am, wherever I go, pour me out, pour me out, pour me out. Wherever I am, wherever I go. Alone in my sorrow and dead in my sin, lost without hope with no place to begin. Your love made a way to let mercy come in. When death was arrested and my life began, ash was redeemed, only beauty remains. My orphan heart was given a name. My mourning grew quiet, my feet rose to dance. When death was arrested and my life began. Oh, your grace, so free, washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. Released from my chains, I'm a prisoner no more. My shame was a ransom you faithfully bore. death and called me your friend. That's when death was arrested and my life began. Oh, oh, your grace so free washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made us new, now life begins with you. Our Savior displayed on a criminal's cross. Darkness rejoiced as though heaven had lost. Then Jesus arose with our freedom in hand. That's when death was arrested and my life began. That's when death was arrested and my life began. Oh, oh, your grace so free washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made us new, now life begins with you. Oh, we're free, free, forever we're free. Come join the song of all the redeemed. Yes, we're free, free, forever, amen. When death was arrested and my life began. Oh, we're free, free, forever we're free. Come join the song of all the redeemed. Yes, we're free, free, forever, amen. When death was arrested and my life began. Oh, when death was arrested and my life began. Yes, when death was arrested and my life began.
Good morning, all you beautiful people. Welcome to Edges. As you're willing and able, I invite you all to please stand as we begin worship this morning.
You are the light, song of my life. You always lead me. You are the voice inside. You are my love. No one before your love got a hold of me, since your love got a hold of me, I'm a new creation, I'm forever changed. Since your love got a hold of me, since your love got a hold of me, I'm a new creation, I'm forever changed. Since your love got a hold of me, since your love got a hold of me, I'm a new creation, I'm forever changed. Since your love got a hold of me, since your love got a hold of me, I'm a new creation, I'm forever changed. I was made by you. I was made for you. I am unfulfilled without full in you is all I need. You're my breath, you're my life, you're my everything. In you is all I need. You're my breath, you're my life, you're my everything. In you is all I need. You're my breath, you're my life, you're my everything. In you is all I need. You're my breath, you're my life, and I was made by you. And I was made for you. And I am unfulfilled without full communion.
Amen. Please be seated.
And I were doing a little dance to make sure my microphone didn't yell at y'all. He had to get back there before I could turn it on. My name's Sam, and I use the pronouns she and her. And I am super happy to see all of you here today. If you notice some people holding up their phones and you didn't know why, you need to make sure that you go to bumcedges.com/worship, and all of this morning's resources are on there. So the lyrics to the songs, anything that you might need for worship, including if money is something that you would like to give to this ministry, there is a place on there to donate online. There is also a virtual prayer wall. We have the prayer wall back here when we're in person, but if there's at any point in time throughout the week or you're not here, we always read the prayers from the virtual prayer wall as well. So bumcedges.com/worship, and actually just bumcedges.com will get you a ton of information about us and our ministry. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can put in your email and you'll get our email about once a week. So if you're out there online and you want to know more about us and you just want to get connected in ways that and find out how that is, then go to bumcedges.com, scroll all the way down, and put in your email. Now, here is the big plug, you guys. Are you ready? This is important. Everybody say, this is important.
This is important.
It is hot. It is going to get hotter. July 4th is our goal. We need to go inside by July 4th. If you're comfortable out there in the hot, like I know my friend Jeanette is, that's okay. But look at our poor musicians. Amen. Look at our equipment. I mean, when Luke touches the keyboards and they burn his fingers, when Joey sits down and his bottom is a little fried, we need to get them inside, you guys. Tomorrow night from 4 to 8, come show up. Jackie or I will give you something to do. We will give you a job, and we will encourage you, and we will be your cheerleaders. We will support you. You can work right alongside of us, but we need to get inside. So tomorrow night, 4 to 8. Got it? This is important. Okay. Now we're going to pray. Maybe I'll pray that we can find some volunteers for tomorrow at 4 to 8. Lord, thank you for being here in this time, in all of these places that we gather with our friends online, with all of these people. Thank you that you have given us a place to worship outside and the ability to do that. Thank you for giving us the place inside that we can go. Thank you for helping us to be able to go inside and be together in fellowship once again, because we've missed each other. Please open our hearts and our minds to what you have to say to us today and all through the week. Use the words of your songs, use the words of the message to help us just crack open our hearts just a little more to let you in. In your name, amen.
Will you all please stand and sing as we continue? We're going to try a couple new ones this morning. This one's called Morning by Morning. Daily, daily, I surrender. Grace for today is all that I need. Surprised by a mercy that's new every morning. Awaken my soul to sing. Awaken my soul to sing. I will trust where you lead, and I will trust when I can't see. Morning by morning, great is your faithfulness to me. Death by breath overtaken by step at a time when I'm overwhelmed. Strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Awaken my soul to sing. Awaken my soul will trust when I can see. Morning by morning, great is your faithfulness to me. And I will trust with all my heart. You are good, always on. Morning by morning, great is your faithfulness to me. Morning by morning, great is your faithfulness to me. There's another new one called Abide.
For my waking breath, for my daily bread, I depend on you. I depend on you for the sun to rise, for my sleep at night. I depend on you. I depend on you. You're the way, the truth, and the light. You're the well that never runs dry. I'm the branch and you are the vine. Draw me close and teach me to abide. Where the Spirit leads, as I'm following, I depend on you. I depend on you for the victory still in front of me. I depend on you. Yes, I depend on you. You're the way, the truth, and the light. You're the well that never runs dry. I'm the branch and you are the vine. Draw me close and teach me to abide. Be my strength, my song in the night. Be my all, my treasure, my prize. I am yours forever, you're mine. Draw me close and teach me to abide. When I pass through death, as I enter rest, I depend on you. Yes, I depend on you for eternal life, to be raised with Christ. I depend on you. Yes, I depend on you. teach me? Would you teach me to abide? You're the way. You're the way, the truth, and the life. You're the well that never runs dry. I'm the branch and you are the vine. Draw me close and teach me to abide. Be my strength, my song in the night. Be my all, my treasure, my prize. I am yours forever, you're mine. Draw me close and teach me to abide.
Amen. Please be seated.
Good morning. Y'all, come on. I know we're a small crowd today, but good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Edges, everyone. My name is Mandy Newman, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm the pastor here, and I'm so very grateful to be with you today. Now, if you're new today or if you've been here before, we're so glad that you're here. Folks, today is the first day of summer. I'm seriously thinking about removing this, but it's not quite as hot as I thought it was going to be. And although it's hot, I am grateful that summer is here. Even though summer is the hottest season of the year, many people use this time to take a breather. Children are out of school, college students aren't floating around the community in mass of 20,000 or more. And so those of us who are able take time off. We go on vacation. Some of us even do a little traveling. So with that in mind, I'd like to ask you guys, how many of you have a little traveling in your schedule for the coming months? Yeah, good bit. So if you could name the very best place that you've ever been, what would it be and why? I want to share with one another for just a few minutes the answer to that question. If you're virtual, please share in the chat. And if you're here in person, talk with those that are closest to you. If you could name the very best place that you've ever been, what would it be and why? Cassidy, Edges. Thank you for that. Let's take just a few minutes. All right, did I give you guys enough time? Never enough time. Never enough time, right? Let's bring it back in. A couple of you all know this about me already, but I don't like to travel. I actually don't like to travel. I like going other places and seeing the world once I get there, but I do not like the traveling. Can I get a, yeah, thank you, friend. So that being said, if I had to name the best place that I've ever traveled, other than my favorite family summer spot, which is the beach, that place would be Israel. And I think the why for that is several reasons. First, it is a fascinating place with a hodgepodge of people from all over the world. Second, it's filled with holy sites that mean something to me. Third, it is simply beautiful, and if we were inside with the big screen, then I would share with you some of the pictures of where I've been, because they are really beautiful. And finally, I think, and this is really important, they have wonderful hospitality and fantastic food. So, at the same time, though, I didn't find everything about Israel to be so wonderful. While I traveled around the country, I got to see firsthand the conflict and the many difficulties between the people of Israel and Palestine. Now, I don't know what you know about the situation there between the Jews and Muslims and Christians, but truly it's a pretty hot mess. What I witnessed was that the Israelis felt strongly about their right to exist in the Holy Land as a Jewish state. Yet its citizens felt threatened on all sides. And the Palestinians felt that they had a right to exist in the Holy Land too, yet they were a stateless people who had been consistently deprived of adequate housing, food, water, healthcare, jobs, infrastructure, and administration of their holy sites. Now, I can't speak for you, but what I found, and I think it's still true today, was that what existed was neither politically sustainable nor morally acceptable. Yet still, even so, I hope for just peace, because all the people that live in the Holy Land deserve to flourish. Now, being there in that country and witnessing not just the beauty around me, but also those places of harm was an eye-opening experience. It made me ask questions like this. When we talk about Israel and Palestine here in the States, how do we approach a conversation or any of the action that we take? Do we consider what we say or don't say, and what we do or don't do with care? And here's the thing. Are we not sometimes, maybe even often, guests in that conversation around justice? Are we not in a space of privilege? And if that's true, how are we speaking and acting from that place of privilege? How do we stand for those who are being oppressed while not really experiencing it ourselves, at least not in the way they have? And what do we do with what we say or fail to say when what we say or fail to say may even injure a person or cause people's lives to be put in danger? In the situation in the Holy Land, there exists an undergirding perseverance amid the people. There is this crying out for justice that permeates all of their lives. So where is the right and just solution? We know from our own experiences that it isn't just in the Holy Land where there is a need for a just and right solution. I can't explain it, but I'm continually surprised that every day there seems to be one more place and one more space in our own communities and frankly in our nation where people and groups of people are denied justice. I can think of several off the top of my head that I've seen in just the past week that continue to be places of injustice. I think we live with injustice all the time, and some of us feel that more than others. Now, I believe that we're on the same page, but just in case, I'm not talking about equality. I'm not even talking about equity. I don't really think we want to stop at equity even. I'm continually frustrated by the lack of justice. Now, there's an image that I've seen that describes this difference really well. It has 3 people standing at a fence watching a baseball game. And in the first quadrant of the image, there's this one person who's way up high on some boxes, like 20 boxes. Like they're in a grandstand or something, so they can see really, really well. The second person is on one box, and they can barely see over the fence. And the third person's in a hole. And the caption under that part of the image says, reality. Then there's a second quadrant in the image where everybody's standing on the same single box, but everybody's not the same height. So people still can't see over the fence. This is what they call equality. Everybody gets one box. The third quadrant in the image has different boxes for each person so that all are able to see over the fence at the same height. And that is equity. Everybody has what they need to see the same way. But this is my favorite part of the image. It's the fourth quadrant of the image. It's got no fence at all. Everybody is able to see with no box, no hindrances whatsoever. They see with all of who they are and how they were made. And the caption under that part of the image says, justice. I really don't understand how we can know all of this and still have the reality that we do today. Injustice is morally unacceptable, to me anyway. And I have a hard time figuring out what to do with all of that. Maybe you do too. Where is the right and just solution, and how can you and I be an advocate or an ally or an activist who works for good change where it is needed most? Now, I'm thankful for this current conversation series that we're in about parables, because the stories found in the Bible that Jesus told spoke to many morally unacceptable situations of his time. In the past, we've had conversations that highlight the ways that Jesus engaged political powers and stood for those who were being oppressed. We talked about his work in calling out the failures of all people to love one another, particularly those in power, refusing to acknowledge and aid those who are not. We've seen the places where Jesus encouraged those who were marginalized to seek a new way. We've seen where he warned those who took advantage to change their practices for the good of all people. You see, Jesus often told stories which prompted healthy agitation. Today we have such a story. In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 18, beginning in verse 1, Jesus told a parable which the writer of Luke stated at the very beginning was about the need to pray continuously and to not be discouraged. However, the story itself spoke directly to the need for and the receipt of justice. And Jesus linked that perseverance for justice to faithfulness. Here's what he said. In a certain city, there was a judge who neither feared God nor respected people. In that city, there was a widow who kept coming to him asking, "Give me justice in this case against my adversary." For a while, he refused, but finally said to himself, "I don't fear God or respect people, but I will give this widow justice because she keeps bothering me. Otherwise, there will be no end of her coming here and embarrassing me." Jesus said, listen to what the unjust judge says. Won't God provide justice to his chosen people who cry out to him day and night? Will he be slow to help them? Jesus said, I tell you, he will give them justice quickly. But when the human one comes, meaning himself, will he find faithfulness on the earth? I think there's one thing for sure. This is a real-world kind of story. It's not a fairy tale. This parable of the widow and the unjust judge came straight out of the ugly and oppressive social and legal world of first century Palestine. It was a world of corruption and major power imbalances. It was a world peopled by powerful officials who practiced injustice and powerless peasants who suffered the consequences. Both the judge and the widow were stereotypes for those who had power and for those who did not. Now, what we may not realize today is that the term judge automatically implied power and authority. When the Hebrew community, within them, the judges were recognized as leaders of their tribes and wise and reputable individuals. Their job was to offer rulings on the legal cases that were brought to them, declaring one to be in the right and one to be in the wrong. But we don't really see in our systems today as much as they did in the evidence of severity of justice. For example, these judges authorized beatings and dismemberments, imprisonment, even death. Their decisions were strictly enforced. In fact, to disregard the rulings of the judge meant certain death for those who were trying to enforce them. Clearly, the judge of Jesus' story had lots of power. Standing on the opposite end of the judge was the widow. Where the judge had all this power and authority, the widow symbolized powerlessness and vulnerability. She lived within a patriarchal world where women depended on men for protection and support and a place to belong. And this widow had none of those. Many people didn't. The life was precarious for widows. They were at the mercy of the powerful. And this was the world of Jesus' story, this socio-economic pyramid that was marked by power and oppression at the top and by powerlessness and extreme vulnerability at the bottom. So what do we do with this story? Why do you think Jesus told the story? In the Gospel of Luke, there's this thread that goes all the way through the book. The stories are all about justice in an unjust world. Jesus made it plain that the widow's urgent plea, "Give me justice against my adversary," was a cry for justice. And it was anchored in this real and often ugly world of everyday existence. You see, the listeners of that day knew that. They didn't need to know what injustice had already happened to the widow, because they probably could guess. Whatever that something was, it was something that she needed in order to go on living. Just living. That was their world. They would have understood that her personal tragedy turned into bitter irony because she had appealed to a judge who himself was unjust and by his own admission had no fear of God or respect for anyone else. That was also their world. And because of that, when the listeners heard that story, they would not have expected justice as the outcome. No listener expected this woman to receive justice. And I think that's why she leaps off the page to every age and every culture. Can we not imagine others today who are the vulnerable person at the bottom of the heap? Are we not able to identify, maybe even self-identify, as those whose urgent and continuous appeals are met only by endless delay and ongoing injustice? The interesting thing about this story is that it wasn't about somebody who didn't get justice. This story was about justice that was requested and justice that was received. And the listeners would have been stunned by that. The judge actually granted justice to the woman in spite of himself. And it's this massive leap from the lesser to the greater, where Jesus assured his listeners that God would waste no time in granting justice to those who cry out day and night. That is the promise that we hear from Jesus, that God is a God of justice, that God would not and will not fail to bring that justice into being for God's people. You see, injustice, it's not the final word. Now, if that were Jesus' point alone, that would be enough for us to hold on to. That injustice is not the final word. But what if there was more to the story than the occurrence of justice alone? What if the reason for the justice is just as important? I'd like for you to consider the feisty and undeterred persistence of this woman. What if that was crucial to making justice happen? What could be our takeaway then? You see, Jesus told his listeners that the widow kept coming. She kept coming to that judge for an appeal. Now, we may like to imagine her as this fighting tiger, right? But in reality, she reminds me more of my pesky little chihuahua. Seriously. I got loads of stories I could tell you all about her, but I won't waste our time now. The point I'm trying to make is that this widow, she had no real power to hurt the judge. Even so, her feistiness unnerved him, maybe even annoyed him so much that he acted. And when Jesus said that the judge feared her, that fear her, that Greek word that explains that suggests that she might give him a black eye. That's the sentiment behind it. It really was her untiring persistence that won the day. And the writer of Luke, he gave this untiring persistence a name. Prayer. Prayer. For Luke, and I suspect for Jesus too, prayer was and is not sedentary, intellectual, or even safe activity. Prayer was and is those sturdy and audacious, perhaps even outrageous acts that go by the name of faith. Urgent, persistent, bold, impertinent prayer is the way through which the injustice of the world would be and will be transformed into God's justice. Jesus did it all the time. He prayed in all kinds of places too. And it was through prayer that Jesus received the strength that he needed to face his everyday ministry and all of those who came to him to be served. It was through prayer that Jesus gained the strength to face the powers of the world and ultimately to face his own death. And Jesus repeatedly called those who were the closest to him to their own life of prayer. You see, only through prayer, Jesus told them, would you be able to face whatever lays ahead. Only through persistent prayer would they find the courage to not lose heart in the present unjust world that they lived in. And only through untiring, persistent prayer would they receive the justice that they longed for. That ultimate justice was and is claimed in God's action in the world to make all things right and whole through Jesus. God made a way for brokenness to be made whole and for injustice to be made right. What if Jesus came to show us that that way is through prayer? What if prayer was and is the name for that collaboration and the partnering that we humans can do? What if prayer is how we join God and connect with God's transforming power to bring about justice? I think that kind of prayer looks like this. It's the gut-wrenching desperation that digs through the roof tiles or claws through the crowds to reach the healer on the other side. It looks like the unimaginable trust to believe in a miracle sight unseen. It looks like the sheer audacity to throw all caution to the wind and to break every rule of the books in a scandalously and highly public display of love and vulnerability. It looks like the utter impertinence to cry out loudly and persistently for healing and for justice until those cries are heard. Could it be that this is the kind of prayer that we are invited to be about? Here's one more nugget to consider. What if this parable isn't about God at all? The more I read this parable this week, the more I wondered if it isn't really about us. I wondered if it's about the state of our hearts. I wondered if it's about the state of our motivations behind our prayers. I mean, maybe that's what's at stake. It's not who God is and how God operates in the world, but who we are and how our spirits might be strengthened through that connection of prayer. When Luke stated at the very beginning of the story that this parable was about the need to pray continually and to not be discouraged, maybe he wasn't just talking about the community that he was writing to, because these words are for us too. There is injustice all around us, and the need for crying out for justice is real. Now, I can only speak from my experience, but I know that when I persist in prayer, really persist, when my heart is fully into it and I pray over a long period of time, something happens to me. My sense of who I am and whose I am. My sense of what really matters in this life and why it matters. All of those things grow within me and somehow strengthen and solidify. My heart grows stronger. It becomes less fragile and flighty, which I can be for those of you who know me. I think even once in a while, my heart soars. Sometimes, and I suppose this shouldn't really be a surprise, there are good things that happen because of prayer, even when they aren't the answers that I prayed for. Don't get me wrong, there are times when unanswered prayer takes a toll. It hurts. It can baffle, it can break our hearts, really. But maybe that's the point of this parable, that the work of prayer is hard work. It's hard. It takes persistence. It takes perseverance. And only then can God's justice be made possible. Now, the widow's situation wasn't all that straightforward. She had to make choices every single day. So I suppose a good question for us to consider is, will we be like her? Will you and I keep asking? Will we risk humiliation even? Can we be patient? Are we still capable of trusting in the possibility of justice? If not for us, then for those that we've come to love and care deeply about. The widow, she persisted in her belief that good things would come to her, even when the odds looked bad. And so I think it's worth us considering before we leave today, what gave power to her persistence? Because we need that. What gives power to our persistence? I think it's the very fact that God is. The reason that the widow persisted and the reason that we can too is because God is. God is our powerful and relentless keeper who doesn't slumber or sleep. God watches over our comings and our goings and guards our days and our nights. Our persistence can never be in vain because it is rooted in God's, the one who made all things. Now I'd like to invite our lead worshipers, if y'all will come forward. They're going to lead us in a song, and I'd like to invite us to a time of reflection. Take this time to meditate or pray or walk to the prayer wall or put something on the virtual prayer wall. We're going to take about 3 minutes to do that.
You live a life of my soul sings, my heart sings. Live a life. I live a life because of your grace. I live a life always seeking your face. I live a life learning how to love. I live a life and I can't give enough. My soul sings, my heart sings. Oh, my soul sings. Oh, my heart You say I'm enough. Remind me it's true. And no more to say, no more to do. You say I'm enough. Remind me it's true. No more to say, no more to do. You say I'm enough. Remind me it's true. No more to say, no more to do. Say I'm enough. Remind me it's true. No more to say, no more to do. You owe me You say I'm enough. Remind me it's true. Will y'all please stand and sing this last one with us? Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow, no, there's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow, no, there's no shadow
I think, yeah, I'm on. Can't tell. The light is weird. I'm going to ask y'all a question. Have you ever been tempted to give up on something that was really, really important, too important to give up on? When Jesus commended the widow, it was because she persevered, even though everything in life seemed stacked against her. Her cause was right, but the rightness was not why she received justice. It was because of her perseverance and her persistence. And we live in a world that is often pervasive, sometimes subtly, in the ways that harm manifests itself. I think we're invited to learn something from this widow. Not to lose heart, to assert ourselves, and to hope in God's promise of justice, that it will come. So I wanted to leave you with these words from Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will fly up on wings like eagles. They will run and not be tired. They will walk and not be weary. May it be so. Would you pray with me? Lord, help us to know that which is worth knowing, to love that which is worth loving, to praise that which pleases you most, to respect that which to you is precious, to reject that which causes harm. Help us to see and hear with more than our human eyes and ears. Help us to discern between things visible and spiritual, and above all, help us to be ever searching after you. Amen. And now may joy and nothing less find you on the road. May you be blessed, and may you continue to be a blessing, and may God's light, love's own crucified and risen light, guide you and countless others all the way home.
God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time. With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of life. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars were made to worship, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you've made. Every burning star, a signal fire of praise. If creation sings your praises, so will I. God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, no syllable empty or void. For once you have spoken, all nature and science follows the sound of your voice. And as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath. revolving in pursuit of what you said. If it all reveals your nature so alive, I can see your heart in everything you say. Every painted sky, a canvas for your grace. If creation still obeys you so alive. If the stars were made to worship so alive, if the mountains bow in reverence so alive, if the oceans roar your greatness so will I. For if everything exists to lift you high, then so will I. Send it so alive. If the rocks cry out in silence so alive. If the sum of all our praises still fall shy, then we'll sing again 100 billion times. Chase down my heart through all of my failure and pride. On a hill you created, the light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die. And as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear. Where you lost your life so I can find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I can see your heart in everything you've done. Every part designed in a work of art called love. If you gladly chose surrender, so will I can see your heart a billion different ways. Every precious one, a child you died to save. If you gave your life to love them so alive, like you would again 100 billion times. But what measure could amount to your desire? You're the one who never leaves the one behind.
For your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up till I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God.
I love your voice. You have led me through the fire, the darkest nights. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. I have lived in the goodness of God.
All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness